to start this last push through 2022. We have a couple weeks. Actually, this is the first of 5 weeks left, 5 full weeks left in the calendar year of 2022. And man, I'm excited to be here, share with you, spend a little time with you, share a little bit from my perspective, things that I'm learning, things that I'm seeing. And the first one that I want to kick off, and if you're watching on a platform that shows the captions, great. And this is what it is. People deserve better. I thought about sharing this on Wednesday, and I've touched about it a little bit in the past, that 14 years ago, the day before Thanksgiving, I was fired from an account, a client that I worked with that represented 25% of my income. And so when I say this next piece, I have a little bit of perspective of how that made me feel through that holiday weekend. A little bit. Not entirely, but a little bit. And I read this story where there were numerous people that right before Thanksgiving got laid off. Like, got an email, got a text message, not as bad as the CEO who laid everyone off on Zoom, but this was, to me, equally as bad, to get a message saying, you have no job. You have no income. You have nowhere to go after the holiday weekend. You're SOL. And I know, if I remember back to those feelings, the biggest feeling that I had at that point is like, if that's the case, then what am I good at? What good do I offer? Like, what value do I have? And that's one of the biggest sources of insecurity that people have. Every single person in this world has insecurity. And it's why I believe executives, board members, leaders, executive directors choose to do what middle school teenagers do when they break up with people: send them a text. Because they're afraid to face the music. They're afraid to be asked why. And I think that's the biggest question as we look forward. And when I say people deserve better, they deserve better because people value, they matter. Now, I get it. There's unforeseen circumstances where businesses have to close. I've done that. Where employees have to be, told you no longer have a job here. I've done that. And as much as I've probably gotten that wrong at times, I also stop and reflect and think, what could I make sure to do better next time? To make sure that they know, to tell the truth, all the truth, to make sure that people feel like, hey, I have their best interest at heart. And I believe that is the greatest opportunity for leaders going forward. Is just continue to give people psychological safety, because here's what's happening is every business like that business that fired almost 2,700 employees, laid them off, fired, however you want to call it, every other similar company in the same industry, every employee is sitting there thinking, am I next? Am I next? And that anxiousness and tension does not bring creativity and innovation. It doesn't. It stifles it. So just keep that in mind. If you're in one of those seats where you have the opportunity and you're facing that, maybe over the next 4 or 5 weeks, you really are wrestling with that, just be honest with people. Tell them where you're at. Help them. Help them land on their feet somewhere else. That's what great leaders do. All right, the next thing I'm going to share with you is my thought of the day, and it's this: read more fiction. I picked this up from one of my daily reads, and it was this idea that, if we read time period fiction, we learn more about that time period than if we just go read history. And it made me think as well back to something I read several months ago. The age of the information we read, meaning if I read a book that's talking about something that happened 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, this is going to be way different than if I read an article that a reporter wrote about an event yesterday. It's going to be completely different. It can even be about the same exact matter. And when I think about this, reading more fiction as a leader, as someone who cares for people, the strangest things in the world are stranger than fiction, meaning those are real. It isn't fiction. And so sometimes reading more fiction can give us a greater perspective about time periods in the past, about our world today. So read more fiction. Hope you got value from today. Thanks for checking in. Love your comments. Love to hear from you. What value you did get, how this made an impact in your day. So if you got value,